Welcome to Believe in Chargers, and we're back. We were both out at the Bolt in El Segundo, brand new Chargers facility. Training camp officially got underway yesterday, open to the fans, open to the media, a couple pressers, Jim Harbaugh, Derwin James, Justin Herbert. It was a great day out there. It was great to see you down here in Los Angeles, Lo, and a big thank you to all of you folks that said hey and were excited to see us, and we're always excited to see you. We appreciate your comments on the YouTube, on the podcast, the reviews. It all helps. And remember, you can see Believe in Chargers in airports, and obviously there's articles being written, and all of these things are happening. We can't thank you enough for helping us grow this thing. So thank you. And again, it's great to be out there and see all of you and talk to you about the pod and about your questions that you asked. Had somebody mention that yesterday, as a matter of fact. They were stoked that we answer their questions in their question in one of the mailbags, Lo. But here with Lo, he is greatness when it comes to the Chargers. Certainly saw all the people yelling and screaming for you, Lo. It was great to see you out there, man.
Yeah, you know what, Money? It was awesome, man, to be able to sign autographs again. It's like, all right, cool. Let me put on some pads. That's the only thing was missing. But no, it was awesome just to see, even though a team left, been gone out of there for years now out of San Diego, but still just to see the fan base. And to see all those fans out there yelling, "Lo Neil," and signing autographs and doing some stuff, it just still makes you feel good to be a Charger and know what you represent. And then, watching, the practice and being around and hanging out with you, walking around and just kind of getting the aura and the presence of a team that you could just feel an energy, a certain excitement. And it can't be too soon. It was interesting just being able to see the facility. Like you're saying, you said, "Lo, you got to see this facility." Oh my goodness. Arthur Hightower took me through the building, able to have lunch in the cafeteria. I mean, like you said, Wolfgang Puck is the chef, and they have friggin' top of the line. I had some salmon and, escargot, you name it. They have no escargot, but I mean, they had,
that'd be something.
You're like, just for thoughts. I mean, They have the refrigerator full of salads, smoothies, walking through the weight room and understanding they got a juice bar, like a friggin' Jamba Juice in the weight room. Seeing what they are prepared to do for these players, legendary.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's a lot different than what you had down in San Diego. It's a lot different than what these guys had their first 7 years. You relocate, it takes a minute. And it took a minute, but you probably don't know the name. The people listening, Fred Mass, a huge tip of the cap to him for just kind of keeping his head down and saying, no, it's got to be LA. It's got to be LA, and waiting for this property to pop up and to be able to buy it so they could get a big enough piece of land in Los Angeles proper. It's technically El Segundo, but it's right next to LAX. It's the South Bay, but it's Los Angeles to give LA a team. This is where we're practicing. This is where we play, in the middle of Inglewood. And we are in Los Angeles now, and it was great to see all the fans out. I know they said they capped it at 1,500, but it was twice that many. I kind of know what it looks like. And it was great to see all of them out there. And like you said, Lo, we talked about it, and now you've actually had a chance to put your eyes on it. Just what a facility like that means for the players and the signal that it sends to them. I was talking to, and this is something that jumped out at me, and I've been to day one of every one of these training camps. And this happened to coincide with the start of Rams, who are in town, Raiders, who are in town, Saints, Cowboys up in Oxnard. And I saw all the big names from the LA Times there. Bill Plaschke's there. He didn't go to the Rams. He didn't go. He wanted to be a Chargers for day one, to be at Jim Harbaugh's presser. Saw Sam Farmer, national NFL writer for the LA Times. He was there talking to Fred Mass and talking to Jim Harbaugh. Saw Albert Breer, who runs Monday Morning Quarterback. He was at Chargers. Saw Robert Mays from The Athletic. Like there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of hype, and you're going to see a lot of attention around this team going into the season because of what the Spanoses were able to do. And I'll wrap it with this. I know I'm kind of going on right now.
Take your time.
But I was talking to, I don't want to mention who it was that I was having this conversation with, but they were mentioning the facility. And they talked about how much money, this particular person sunk into a stadium, but just doesn't understand because of how they're wired. Like, why would I want to sink few $100 million into a facility when I can't make any money off of it? Like, that's how this owner thought. And he's like, this This is what's is sick. It's not for the owners to make money. It's not for the fans. It's to send a signal to your players like, yes, I'm going to spend $300 million on you. I'm not,
Yeah.
this is not going to pay. I'm not going to be able to make money back on this, but this is for you. And when you win and when we win and when we draw players to this organization, that's indirectly how I'll make money off this.
Oh, no question. And to your point, when you look at that facility, there's not a lot of facilities. I've been to a lot of facilities. This is state of the art. I walked through the locker room. I mean, they got a shuffleboard, a game, a TV lounge. I mean, they have a massage room where you can go sit in massage chairs and get massage while you're watching TV, and you're in these electric chairs that massage your body. I mean, they have everything from the water treadmill, sauna. So this is a state of the art facility. I mean, the lockers, how they just pull out and you have shelves for your products, the different things that you have. When you watch and look at this facility and how it's designed and how it's set up, I mean, you walk to the second floor and that's where all the meeting rooms are. And you can walk in, usually you had to go walk to the gym or walk to outside when you want to go do a walkthrough. I mean, they have turf on the second floor that you can walk through and say, okay, here's offense and defense side, and we can do a walkthrough. And because instead of going out in the field, takes 5-10 minutes to walk out there. Now you walk outside your meeting room 2 feet away, and you can do a walkthrough. So it's more efficient. Everything is just so more efficient. And oh, by the way, Jim Harbaugh's his room is right next door, so he can walk outside and watch the walkthrough if he desires. So just the way that the functionality of the place, and the cafeteria on the mess hall on the second floor and how it's right next to everything, just the way it's set up and designed, it works.
Yeah.
It works, and it works very, very well. It's going to work well for the Chargers. And watching on the top of the building, just to see the sky, the boxes, and how the area that they have for the elite, I was just like, money, I was like taken away. And then you have a digital board up there that if you do want to do some friggin' advertising, a company wants to do advertising to watch, and the players have money. Wow, what is going to be something that's going to resonate with them? So I just thought that they didn't leave any rock unturned when it comes to putting together a facility.
That's beautiful facility. Try to get out, folks, if you can. I know the tickets are hard to come by because they capped it at 1,500, but like I said, it looked like there were a lot more than that out there. So try to figure it out, get on out there so you can put your eyes on it. Let's get to the football part of it lower, or I'll start with, because I was there late. I was doing the Chargers Weekly podcast with Chris Hayre, and as we were kind of milling about, I was there probably 30 to 40 minutes after practice before we were able to kind of catch up with J.K. Dobbins, who we talked to. But as I was out there, Justin Herbert is probably, I'd say he's got 20 to 25 minutes logged with the fans, just doing photos and autographs. Other guys are already going through their fourth quarter and their overtime drill with their overtime period with Ben Herbert. So he's got position groups and he's putting them through this workout. Herbert's signing autographs. Herbert's taking pictures. He's with the Chargers communications and media team, right? That's what they want to do. Thanks everybody for coming out. This is cool. You get to touch Herbert. You get to take photos with him. Then he gets to the corporate tent, with the VIPs and all of that, grin and grip, photos, doing all that. Then he's got to go do his presser, knocks that out, and everyone's gone. Nobody's left on the field. And what do we see him do? There's one guy left out there, Ben Herbert, director of player performance, and he's waiting for one guy. And here comes Justin Herbert 40 minutes later, and it's like, yeah, dude, you're the quarterback. You've got all these media obligations, these corporate obligations. It's one of the reasons why we're paying you $52 million a year, and this is part of that. But hey, man, push-ups, Supermans, bear crawls on your fingertips and toes, and he put him through the full 20 minutes of fourth quarter overtime period, and I can see him pouring sweat, wiping his head off with a towel. It's like, you don't get to escape that because you've got to do the corporate dance, and nobody is above anybody else. Even when your obligations are a little bit more on that front, you still got to get out there and you still got to go through flipping the sleds, carrying the medicine balls, and doing your fingertip toes bear crawls for 20 minutes.
It's unreal watching him. I saw him go there flipping the tire, and then he goes over and flips the tires. He's doing everything that the players are doing, but more. And it's interesting just to see him do it with a smile. And just watching Ben Herbert take these guys through it, watching that, I was like, money, I was getting tired. I was looking at you, I said, man, that is friggin' tough. watching these guys go into the fourth quarter and they're crawling you in their fingertips, and you have to stay low and you're moving your hips and simultaneously and keeping everything in sequence. It's hard not to get sloppy, letting your body go, because you got to keep everything tight. What they're doing is pretty remarkable. I'm surprised that guys are able to do that every day after every practice. That's a mindset. That's a mindset. So I'm telling you right now, as far as the mental aspect of this game and the mental physical, fatigue. They say fatigue will make
Right.
cowards out of grown men. You're going to be in a situation where the fatigue factor, you can look at it and look at fatigue and says, not today. I've been with Ben. Not today. I've been doing this fourth quarter. Not today. I've been doing the overtime. So what we got to see besides the practice, just the afterwards, the aftermath, where you're watching Bosa, you and I are watching Bosa, and he's trying to, thinking about not finishing. Ben goes over to him and says, no, buddy, let's go.
Exactly.
Let's crawl, walk, whatever you got to do.
Back, got it right. Got to,
Yeah,
of all the guys,
yes,
it's like,
yes.
you're finishing this, dude.
Exactly. You and I, you pointed that out to me, and I was like, you're right. He is holding guys accountable. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. It's about excellence. And that's everything that this Charger team and Harbaugh has. It's excellence. It's not necessarily running hard. It's not, okay, oh my God, beat up everyone at practice. It's just attention to detail. I get what he's doing. Watching the first practice, it's all about attention to detail, being crisp, being thorough, and knowing your assignment.
Yeah, and that's what we've heard. That was one of the messages that Harbaugh shared with us as soon as he showed up was, these games are tight. The end of halves are tight, and we want to make sure our guys are better conditioned than the opponent. So when, like you said, fatigue arrives, the other team is the team that's fatigued and turns into cowards, as you said, and they're the team that's fresh. It's like this. Nothing different about this. We can go another quarter. Like, we're good. And that's something that is obvious. That is an obvious point that sticks out when you're hanging out on that field long after practice has concluded, how much longer that fourth quarter and overtime period is. To the actual football part of it, Lo, I'm going to start with something that I found. One of the things that stuck out to me, and I know you were walking the field with Arthur, so you probably got a closer look at it than I did. I was trying to look through the wall of bodies as they were running their 7-on-7s and stuff. But so Jordan McFadden was drafted last year in the 5th round. He's not big. Even though he played tackle at Clemson, he's 6'2". He's a little bit short-armed. They actually played him at guard a little bit last year when they had all that attrition on the offensive line. Heard when Coach first got hired, was talking through some of the personnel, said maybe a center is maybe what they're thinking because of his size. And I'm watching yesterday, and he's playing guard. He's playing fullback. They got him in motion. He's pulling, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So 6'2", 303 pounds. I'm sure you saw him out there. It's kind of interesting to see, and it gives you a glimpse into what Coach Roman and Harbaugh are thinking with this offense and how these big bodies going to be moving around, that they've got 6'0" linemen. They've got this guy out there playing a little bit of fullback, sort of tight end. He's in motion, and he's a 6'2", 303-pound O lineman, and this is the body that they're kind of experimenting with.
Yeah, I was watching. I was like, well, is this a joke? But it's not, because you watch him move in space. And now you think about an outside linebacker, usually, 6'2", 6'3", whatever it may be, and they're maybe 230, 240 or defensive end. So now you can move this guy on the line of scrimmage. As long as he stay tight and understand lineman and sign and move slow, he's going to be able to create lanes, because now you have a guy that big that's going to be able to lay on guys. Now guys don't want to get reached. They don't want to get hooked. Because his athletic ability, you have a swing guy that can play guard, like you said, play the fullback, the H position, or in the fullback position, because he has the size, but he's still short enough, 6'2", that he can play with leverage and still create a new line of scrimmage. So I think it's going to be interesting when you're talking about even going 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and even taking out a receiver. And now you can bring this guy in and motion him across. Think about now you have tight end and a fullback who's a guard in the backfield that's coming into the end of the line. Think about a new line of scrimmage that you're going to think about. If you want to push one, now they're going to tray block. That's a tackle and tight end tray, but he's playing the tight. So now you're actually traying up and actually doubling up to a linebacker. Just think of the new line of scrimmage you're going to be able to create with that type of mass, especially at the outside perimeter, because we know in Harbaugh's offense, we know we want to get downhill, but we also want to stretch the defense, create a new line of scrimmage, and have those cutback lanes. The farther you push a guy off the ball, the better and easier it is for a guy to get to the hole, then make a cut instead of making cuts in the backfield. When you create a new line of scrimmage, it gives the running back a lot of opportunities downfield.
Yeah, and you look at the running backs, and like I had mentioned, we had a chance to catch up with JK, and he said, I'm 100% healthy. It's like, I have absolutely, he said, he, after the Achilles, he said it took me about 3 months to, you got to rest it, you got to let that thing grab and catch and heal. He said, but as soon as they said you're good, that it is healed, he said, I started sprinting right away. He said, I am full go right now, full go, zero restrictions, healthy, ready to get after it. We saw Gus go through individuals.
Right.
Did not go through the team drills though, so there's still something there. They haven't told us what it is, but there's still something there clearly, because they're not letting him participate fully. I think the way Harbaugh described it was, he said, we got time. We're going to gradually ease him back in. That he's coming off of something. But it's funny. You and I were standing next to each other, and we just saw those two guys walking together, and it's like, how funny is it that this is the running back position, and how different you can be built and yet still get the job done effectively. You just do it in different ways.
Oh, no question. There's some big men, and when you saw it, it's like it's almost better to practice because you're over there with Gus, and I mean, and you see the strength coach, and you watch the what they have to do. Even though he's not able to go, he's got to catch passes out of the backfield. They're still running routes. He's still able. Gus is doing a bunch of things, even though he's not 100%. They're working. You're getting a lot of work in. So you see Harbaugh's and just what they're doing, the training staff seeing what they're doing for guys that aren't able to practice, but that are saying, hey, they're still in pads where they're still suited up. They're not going through. They're going through individuals, but they're not actually going through team stuff. But you still saw the amount of work that they're putting in, and it was tough.
Yeah, one of the things that JK mentioned, and he's such a fun guy to talk to. He's just got great energy. He's a very positive, individual. And you think about his circumstance. Here's a second round pick, guy that was just an absolute beast at Ohio State, one of the best running backs in the country, one of the first taken in the draft when he was drafted. And it goes sideways. And now he's on a 1-year vet minimum deal, got to prove himself, and hope that he can cash in on one of these, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley type deals, and because they're hard to come by as a running back, even maybe like a Devin Singletary deal, something along those lines. You can get your money before you get too old and people start just feeding you these 1-year prove it deals repeatedly. But when we brought up, sort of his game log in Baltimore, because obviously he was with Greg Roman while he was there. And I noticed, first half of the season there, his rookie year, or his second year, I think it was, he had he was getting like 10, 11 targets per game in the passing game, and then for whatever reason it tailed off. And so we were like, hey, what do you think is going to be sort of your role here? How's it going to work with you and Gus and that sort of and he just kind of, his eyes got wide. He said, oh, I'm gonna be part of the passing game. It's like, oh, he goes, you better believe. He said, you just wait. He's like, I'm going to be part of the passing game. And so excited about that because of how electric he is in space, how good he is at making the first man miss. If the first man doesn't miss, dude breaks contact every time. One guy is not getting him down. And that's going to be a fun little wrinkle to watch in this offense, is how they use him, maybe not necessarily running power or between the tackles, but much like they used Austin Eckler with Herbert, and what a weapon he was in the passing game.
Oh, definitely they will, because you see him get out on the perimeter. If you throw the ball to him and now he's one-on-one with the linebacker, what does he do? We break the linebacker. First thing they're taught is to break down, try to square up. Okay, boom, you break down. He shakes you. Now you got to go 0 to 60 and catch up, because he's going to hit you and he already knows where he's going and you don't. So that's tough. And then if you're flat-footed, he might just decide to run you over. So it's going to be a friggin' phenomenal just to watch the wrinkles like you're talking about, what they're going to be able to do, how Greg Roman's going to implement him in this pass game. What are they going to do? Is it going wide, taking guys down the field, have him come underneath and just do some different things? It's going to be definitely a situation where he's going to touch the ball in the passing game, and he's going to be a threat. He's going to be a threat. He's too big, he's too strong, and he's too physical not to be.
Yeah. You know what's physical and strong is Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, number one source for everything in online sports betting. How about a 50% free bet up to $250 on your first deposit to bet anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. They got it all, every stat, every matchup, live odds, live spreads when the games are being played. And when the game's over, they got the online casino with blackjack, poker, 150 plus slot games. The website's there. Get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. That's BLEAV for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. So the other injury that is of note, and now we finally got some clarity on it, because why is Junior Colson on the injured, the non-football injury list, NFI list? Appendicitis. So had to have his appendix removed, and appendicitis is what landed him there. So it's something to keep an eye on. In the meantime, the starting linebackers are Denzel Perriman and Dan Henley. Saw Denzel make a couple big plays out there. He's someone that wanted to come back. He's someone that Jesse Minter and everybody wanted here. Jim Harbaugh wanted here, and I think you see why. He's just got such incredible energy, and as long as he can try to dial it back enough so he doesn't hurt himself, because he likes to punish players so much, it's a nice looking pairing out there, and they made a couple plays in the 7-on-7 and the 11-on-11 period.
Yeah, they really did. They were running around. You like to see linebackers, especially run around and try to strip the ball, get the balls out, have a couple balls on the ground.
Yeah, he had one of those.
Yeah, just running around. You saw it. And I was able to go in the locker room and see the young rookie. Arthur brought me in there, and I was like, man, I wanted to watch you fly around. I've been hearing a lot about you. This guy's built like you said.
You're talking about Deion?
Deion.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's built like he's put together. I said, you're like 6'2", and I said, I would have got lower. I said, I don't know. I said, come underneath your chin. He's filling me out. We're filling each other out in the locker room. He's a good kid, good young man. Yeah, but I'm telling you, he's put together well. Can't wait to watch him get out on the field. Just the depth that you have at linebacker, like you said, no disrespect. Watching Perriman, those guys run around, you see, hey, look, these guys can play. They've been in this league. They've earned the right to do that. But I'm telling you, this young fellow, when he gets out there, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table as well.
And that's an important position for this defense, because it's the same defense that Mike McDonald was running in Baltimore last year. And you kind of think about, what's the heartbeat of that defense? What was the nucleus? It was them trading for Roquan Smith and what Roquan was able to do with Patrick Queen. And that's where a lot of that action happened. And because they were so stout and solid, well, now Kyle Hamilton is free. And Kyle Hamilton, much like a Derwin James, is that Swiss Army knife. And they're free to use him in so many different spots. And that's, I'm sure, what Jesse Minter's looking for. Can I find that combo? Is it Junior? Is Junior my Roquan? Is Deion my Patrick Queen? Is it Perriman? But once you can kind of lock that thing up, that's truly what really unlocked that defense for Mike McDonald last year, was the addition of Roquan and just having that tackling machine and that guy that sees it all and can find it and knock it out before it has a chance to become an explosive.
Oh, no question. And you mentioned a guy like Derwin. He just plays with energy. He plays with more energy. Like you said, hey, this guy's special. And I know what you mean now, Money. Watching even at practice, he's going. You see him just trying to make plays. He's always trying to be around the ball, always trying to put his presence, put his stamp on it. And when you have a guy like that, that becomes infectious. I like to see, that's what I like to see, was watching certain guys you told me to look out for, and, watch the tight end make some plays. But when you see a guy like Derwin, see the effort and the hustle, and him just trying to be around the ball, jumping, taking chances, you're like, okay, this guy, he's a ball player. He's got that, he's got that dog. He sets himself a difference. And I totally understand what you're saying when you talk about Derwin.
Yeah, and you saw it in that fourth quarter overtime period, man. Nobody was doing cleaner push-ups. No one was moving in that bear crawl faster than Derwin. He is a leader vocally. He is a leader by example. He is everything you would want as a leader, one of the leaders on your team, a captain of your team, and the guy that's got to get that defense ready to play. I'll tell you what really stood out to me, and I was very excited to see it. I thought Quentin Johnson had a great practice. In the OTAs, I was a little worried, and I think it's probably because of just the tempo of which they were playing and the stuff they were working through. And here, when, it's not full live, there's no pads, but just the crispness on his route running, that was not there at OTAs. It wasn't there last year. The routes, I don't want to use the word lazy. I don't think that's fair, but they just weren't. They didn't look the way they looked yesterday. Yesterday, it looked like he had a couple digs. He had a couple outs where he's breaking them off. And it's like, okay, and it was great to see Herbert go to him and go to him repeatedly. Josh Palmer was there after practice for a good 45 minutes on the jugs machine and just working on routes. And that's a dude that's always worked super hard. He took his cues from Keenan, and that's why he wears the hoodie out there. It's kind of his tip of the cap to Keenan, and what, Keenan Allen used to wear during training camp and during practice. But it's going to be an interesting group. It really is. And you can just see it's not hard to see it with Lad McConkey. I mean, every time the guy steps on the field, you can just see that route running. But really, of all of those receivers, the one that really stood out was, okay, Quentin, he got the message. He got the memo. They drafted Lad. They signed DJ Chark. We know Josh Palmer's probably going to be the number one, and he knows this is going to be a competition, and there's going to be a fight for some targets and for some reps. And clearly, it looks like he put in a lot of work and a lot of study, because those routes looked a lot better than I was used to seeing.
You're absolutely right. I watched him run that 5 route where it's 17 yards and then come back down to 15. And Herbert just let the ball go, and he was in the DB was still, like you're saying, moving backward, didn't have that break, and he comes back down the hill, makes a great catch, picks up the first down. Totally know the play you're talking about. I saw that 5 route. It was great route running, great concentration, and just the timing of it. And just watching the offense, to me, one of the big takeaways that I saw as well for me was just seeing how disciplined the offense was. You got a quarterback trying to get used to the cadence, the hard count, all the different things that are around. You didn't see a lot of false flags. You saw a couple flags come out, but for the first day of training camp, with my experience, usually the offense, if they're going to jump, you're anticipating guys trying to beat you to the ball. You're trying to listen to the cadence. You're trying to think about your job. And sometimes you get a lot of offside, really sloppy offense. You usually see that sometimes the first day. I thought the offense played pretty well considering, new offense, a guy coming out there, guys at hard count, remembering everything. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, especially for an offense that guys holding the water on the snap count.
Yeah, and I think when you just kind of go through the personnel groupings, the O line is what we thought it was going to be. It's Alt and Slater at tackle. It's Pipkins and Zion Johnson at guard, and it's Bradley Bozeman at center. Defensive line is what we saw in OTAs. The first group was Joey and Khalil. Inside was Scott Matlock, who there was a lot of excitement around last year, but did not get as many reps as we thought he would. I know Tom Telesco was really excited about him coming in, and for whatever reason, he just struggled to get out on the field. But he's out there with Poona Ford, who they signed in free agency. Morgan Fox and Chris Hinton got some run with the ones as well. But that first group that came out was in fact Matlock and Poona, and we saw Tarheeb Still with Christian Fulton and Asante. Those are obviously going to be the outside corners, but that slot is what we've been talking about, that nickel, and it was Ja Taylor. And I even saw Still a little bit with the third team. Tony Jefferson was out with the ones a little bit. AJ Finley, I think, was out there with the ones as well. So that third safety competition seems to be alive and working, and not as much JT Woods, I think, is what everybody's looking for. But it seemed like it was Finley and Jefferson that were getting the work in that third safety spot. So that kind of covers a little bit of your camp battles in terms of who's going to make that, who's going to be the starter at each of those positions. And that's sort of something that I noticed. Now when the pads come on, that's when we'll get a better idea of what that O-line might look like. But at least for now, at the start of training camp, that's kind of how it all shook out yesterday.
Yeah, and you saw the corners make some plays, call a pick,
Yeah.
Dante jump on some, looked good, breaking up some balls, and didn't get a lot of balls thrown over their heads. So I'm, playing the ball well. I just thought that, it was a good practice. It was, a good practice for the first day, without pads, of course, but you just saw it. When you get pads, you're absolutely right. It's hard for offensive linemen really to win in the run game, especially in the run game, because you really can't create a new line of scrimmage as well as you can, because you don't want to necessarily get hurt. You got the helmets. Yeah, you're fitting guys up, but you don't get the push. You don't get the things, the double teams as well. So it's really good, though, to see guys giving the effort. But when you get pads on, I think you get a lot more moving, get more of a better sense of how the running game is going to look, because now guys can be able to come off the ball and sustain blocks, because it's tough. 1, 2, 3, and you're kind of getting off and letting guys run. You want, running backs to finish. And those were some of the things that I saw. I know running backs, I'm used to playing with, greats. And I'm not saying
Right.
these guys can't be great, but, LT, when he gets out, he's going to want 50 yards down the field, 30 yards down the field. Like to see these running backs kind of finish some of the plays, sometimes get through, and you saw it a couple times, but you want to set the bar high. You want to get that consistency. You want guys to finish plays, even though it's, you got to tempo down. I get it, but you still want to see guys finish. And I did see it, But those are some of the things that I'm like, hey, look, if I'm that running back coach, I'm like, hey, look, guys, you break through. I want to see you explode. Give me at least 10, 15 yards. Give me that. Then if you
Right.
want to gear down, that's fine. But you need to get that at these guys.
We got a handful. We always appreciate the comments on the YouTube, and that's our easiest way to try to get back with you. We try to answer them underneath the YouTube feed, so you don't have to come here to get them. But let's see. Let's get a couple of these in here because it speaks to what we saw yesterday. This is for you, clearly, Low. Is there a potential resurgence of fullback play in the NFL? Defense lighter, faster, counter aggressive passing offense. Chance the pendulum swings back the other way. Start seeing more fullbacks line up in the backfield. Or other, if the Chargers want or other teams want to pound the rock. Do you think the NFL rules and general strategy of the game have moved too far for traditional fullbacks to make a return?
I think it's a great question. I think that you'll see some of the teams go back. I know when you have a good run game and you got guards and centers and tackles, they can go and do ace block and double team really well. And you have a good fullback, and all of a sudden now he's isolated on a linebacker. That's how we made our money. You look at the LTs, the Eddie George. When I was able to block for these guys, Corey Dillon, it was like, okay, you had a Nick and Nick Hardwick, and of course, great offensive line and Dillman, boom, they're double teaming up to a back, and then bam, I'm coming through and cleaning up. So I just think that you got to have a physical type of guy. If Harbaugh has a guy and these guys are physical, and he sees that, hey, this fullback can create a new line of scrimmage and rooting guys out of there, they'll play him. Coach Harbaugh will play a fullback if they do. When you play fullback, the biggest thing when I came in, I was coming hard. The linebackers wasn't thinking about making a tackle on LT. They were thinking about me. That's what they're not trying to shed. They're like, okay, he's coming. I know he's coming. So they're either trying to get low or trying to take me on to try to say, I got to go meet him in the backfield. So they're not really thinking about making the tackle. They're thinking about doing their job for someone else can make the tackle. So I think that's the part of fullback. When I watch good fullback play, is when the linebacker is engaged in a one-on-one, because he's not worried about the running back. He's worried about not getting embarrassed by getting knocked on his keister or not getting put out of the hole. So that's when you see, that's how I judge good fullback play, is when the linebacker is saying, I'm going to trade one for one and I'm not trying to make the play.
Yeah, I think just in a general sense, Low, analytics has changed so much, right?
True.
We've had people that have created these programs that can crunch all this data. It spits out results, and they share with the coaching staff and the front office, okay, this is what we found. And essentially what happened and how the fullback was sort of moved out of the game is they realized, okay, teams win games when they have explosive plays. When you are forced to have drives that consume 8, 11, 14 plays, sooner or later, there's a turnover, there's a false start, there's a holding penalty. You get off schedule on first down. Instead of 2nd and 6, it's 2nd and 8, and now you're off schedule. And that was sort of the proliferation of the too high shell is, hey, you want to run, fine. Well, you can tick, 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 tick your way down the field. Sooner or later, we're going to get you. We're going to surprise you with a blitz. We're going to jump a route. We're going to get an OPI. We're going to get a holding penalty, and then you're screwed. And that's how this happened. And all of these, 3 wide receivers and these empty sets started showing up because they realized, well, let's not take 12 plays to get down the field. Let's take 5. And there's much more room for error because we've already now flipped the field at worst with these explosive plays. So that's kind of how we got to this position. To answer the question, that's what Jim Harbaugh did at Michigan. That's what he did at Stanford. He looked around and he's like, yeah, these defenses aren't big enough to contend. I don't care. I'll take the 12-play drive. I don't give a damn. I'll let my defense rest, and I'm content, and I'll roll the dice. And you saw it in the Penn State game last year. They did not throw the ball once because he was confident that his defense was better than their offense, and they weren't going to get squat. And all he was going to do is take the air out of the football and have these 8-minute drives. And if he had to settle for a field goal, so be it, because they're getting zeros. If I'm getting 3s and they're getting 0s, I'm still going to win the game. So Harbaugh's calculus is different than a lot of other people in football. And I think that speaks to Jay Schnizzle's question there about, is the football going to make a return?
Yeah.
You talked about 12 Low. We're going to see a lot. I think maybe not a lot, but we're going to see some 22 out there as well.
Oh yeah, we will. We'll talk with 22, 2 backs, and take the fullback out, 22 personnel. You got a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. I think without a doubt, because you just stretch the defense. You make them cover every blade of grass. And also, when you're talking about sustaining drives, I'm telling you, the worst thing for a defense, when you're out there for 12, 14, 15 play drive, it's just demoralizing. That's what happens when you do that. Defenses they have to say, we have to do something out of the norm. So now I'm going to bring some pressure. Okay, now I got to heat you up. We can't stop you running the ball. Now I'm going to take a bad angle. I'm trying to do something. So if you can be patient, I remember I played against the Rams with LT, and he had over 200 yards total, all-purpose yards. We started running the ball. Michael Turner started running, and you just start wearing the defense out.
Right.
You watch the linebackers; they're coming in hard, and they're just take themselves out of place. And now, if you got a guy like LT or the backs that you have that can get through there and hit the hole, you get some you get some gaping holes. But it's got to be consistency, and it's got to be that wear down the opponent, and that's what Harbaugh's going to bring. He's going to throw the ball, of course. He's not dumb. He's not crazy. So I'm just going to run the ball and be no. It's going to be way more efficient. You're going to be a physical type of football. You're going to still throw the ball, but you're just going to wear teams out, and you'll have a 30, 40-yard run. You'll have more runs this year for more than 20 yards plus than you've had in a long time because of the consistency and the physicality of the run game.
Yeah, and it's complementary football, right? Like you can't be that type of team if you don't have a good defense. You can be the methodical, like you said, work the fit. You just have to have a dominant defense
Right.
in order to do that, and that's what he had at Michigan, and that's what Kyle Shanahan has in San Francisco. They are all
You're
about
right.
investing in that defensive line. They put a ton of money into that defense. You think about the linebackers and how much they've paid their defensive linemen and their backers and their secondary. Like that, it's complementary football. And same thing with the Ravens. What nobody runs the ball more than the Ravens. Well, yeah, look at their defense. So that's what Harbaugh's trying to build. And that's why when you think about the offseason, why are Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack here and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are with the Bears and the Jets respectively? Complementary football. This is how we're going to play. Our defense has got to be able to match it.
Right.
And you don't need the wide receivers. You need Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa to set the tone on that front so you can play this type of football. This is from the Griff Dog. How much of an impact do you think Mark Trestman will have on the offense? How do you envision his role, and how will his influence be reflected in play design? Seems like an under-the-radar signing. Look, Trestman's thought to be one of the brightest offensive minds, and he's someone who's been around forever. Got the one shot in Chicago, maybe didn't have the personnel that he needed, and didn't have the necessary, the financial wherewithal to back up what his vision was, and it didn't go great as a head coach, but as an offensive mind and as a head coach in Canada. Remember, this guy that won Grey Cups, that was coach of the year a bunch of times, very innovative, bright guy. And I think it's someone who is incredibly smart and incredibly creative and has seen so much football to sit in that room with Coach Harbaugh and Coach Roman and Coach Day, the quarterback's coach, and Coach Law, the wide receivers coach. You see him out there low, and he's just kind of floating around. He's kind of this conciliary, right? Or he's this ombudsman who's sort of kind of keeping an eye on everything, and people are coming to him to check in, and that's sort of what I've noticed from Coach Trestman.
Yeah, and I think that you got to give kudos to Hardball by bringing in guys and said, I don't care how good a coach is. I'm going to get someone even smarter. I'm going to get someone that's good, that's going to have the eye that said, okay, I know Greg Roman is my offense OC. I know my receiver coach, but they get so caught up in what they're doing that sometimes they don't see outside of that. And that's why you brought in someone else that's saying, okay, hey, Greg, I know you're doing this, but look, this is what I'm watching. This is what I've seen. So we need to add this, implement this. So I think it's great because you're going to challenge guys, and coaches going to have open minds. So that's why Harbaugh brought in, to have an extra eye on offense, to have someone that has an offensive creativity that's going to, also help Greg Roman. So I think it's great.
Let's wrap it with this. This is from Messinger. I think it's Al Messinger. Matt Lowe, watching a video about the new kickoff rules. How much special teams this year could really change the outcome of a team's win-loss record? New strategy. Sounds like a good kicking team. Could pin guys back farther than the old rules. Maybe the receiving team could put the offense at an advantage we're not used to seeing. And then got into bad special teams can cost the team games. We've talked about this. And what did we notice, Lo? How much special teams were they working on yesterday?
A lot. We talked about that. You and I are out there and we're just watching special teams. And what was it? The kickoff team and the kickoff return teams, seeing how guys can go over the top and stop returns, and seeing how guys can stay on guys to make the return work. So you saw that the Chargers put a lot of time into special teams. So you're absolutely right, my man, who's sending that text,
Yeah,
because
Al.
special teams are important.
Yeah, no doubt. We saw it. They spent considerable time there. Well, I'm going back today. I'll be out there Saturday as well. It was great to see you out there, Low. Hopefully, you'll get back down
Yep.
soon. I know they loved having you around. And again, cannot stress to the people listening and watching enough. Figure it out. There's a great community of Charger fans that share tickets. Hey, I signed up for these. I can't go. Who wants them? I'll transfer them to you because they're all free. You may have to pay to park there. There's some pay lots because parking is at a premium up there, but just kind of stick in and follow the Die Hard Bolt Club and all of those groups, and you'll get yourself in these conversations that maybe can flip you some tickets if you weren't able to score some when they first posted.
Yeah, no question, no question. Well, shoot, I know I'm gonna try to get back down there, Matt. It's
Yeah,
great as always working with you, brother.
absolutely. It was great to see you, Low, and hopefully, remember, please don't be shy. We love chatting with you. We appreciate all the support you give the pod and the YouTube channel. So if you see us, holler. We'll come over for sure if you have any interest in talking to me, which I
Oh,
don't know why you
yeah,
would,
of course you guys want to talk to Money. He's the best.
yeah.
Money, you're the best, and I tell him we'll give him a tease for next week. When next show, we'll tell him the Cleo Mack story.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. Exactly. I think that's for public consumption. It has to be. I mean, you can see them out there. So there we go. All right, that's coming next week. Thanks everybody for checking in.